Hello, everyone. I'm Anumani, your modern day shaman and the author of Unmasking Your Soul, a transformational journey of truth, light, and healing. And I have a very special guest today, Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hi.
So I'm going to read Mary's bio before we get into the questions. So Mary Adams Whitlock is a New York City-based doula and wellness coach. She specializes in Ayurvedic wellness, having trained with some of the leading practitioners in the world like Namas Hilary Arbovaltis and natural gourmets Richard Lamarita. Last fall, she completed her Dona postpartum doula training with the renowned Deborah Pascali Bonaro, followed by an internship at Healthy Mother and Natural Birth Sanctum in Hyderabad. I'm probably butchering all these India, where she provided gentle birth and postpartum support under the guidance of Dr. V. Haya Krishnan and some of the leading midwives in the country. Born, raised, and living in New York City, Mary embraces the overwhelmed demands and stresses that city life puts on families. In 2017, she took massive action and left her position as fashion design director to seize her purpose. She's inspired and passionate about providing families with the resources, empathetic support, and nurturing to maintain a balanced life. This includes doula services, meal planning, holistic nutrition, education, coaching, and meditation. Mary's philosophy is that a healthy foundation is the catalyst for a healthier future. And Mary is grateful to all of her teachers and life experiences that have brought her to this very moment. And I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Mary.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. You're doing some amazing work, and I'm sure people want to hear about your story. But before we get to that, I want to start with the same question I ask all my guests about their experience of soul, their definition of soul. So when you think about that in your life, how would you describe that to the audience?
Um, so for me, soul is something really visceral. It's like an instinctive thing that we have that, for me, I can only relate to through feelings or through an actual experience. It's definitely something that's a part of me, and it's what makes me unique. But I am a little conflicted. I feel like on a much deeper level, the soul is something that also attaches us to our ego and what is keeping us grounded here. And sometimes that can take us away from the collective soul, and the idea that we're all essentially connected. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So you've been doing some traveling recently, which hopefully we'll get into some of that. It sounds very exciting, all the training. And you left a fashion design director role in 2017. Wow,
Yeah.
that's very admirable. I think last year was a year where people really were being asked to step into their purpose. Um, for me, I was asked to go deeper and really just embrace it fully. I kind of was living two worlds up until last year myself. So tell us about your journey of unmasking and how you got to where you are today. And then we're going to go down some other paths.
Very cool. So yeah, I'm from New York. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I had a great childhood. My parents were definitely played huge roles in who I am and what I'm doing now. My mother practiced Eastern philosophy and taught me a lot about spirituality and meditation. So I've been practicing that for a long time. And my father as well, he was a practicing herbalist and holistic health enthusiast growing up. So I was kind of surrounded with everything from a young age. But like a lot of people, I went through a lot of transitions, especially in my early adolescence. There was a lot going on with my family. And I think I was just emotionally drained from all of that. So I just kind of, when things started happening in life, I graduated from school, I had to get a job. I think I was just so emotionally drained from everything that I had gone through that for a while I just kind of settled. And I was just, letting life pull me along for the ride. And ultimately, through those experiences, I developed severe anxiety.
Mm.
Um, I think it was really hard for me to give up this idea of control. You know, at sometimes you're holding up all these plates and not being able to ask for help. And with that, I've developed a lot of great coping strategies, and I pride myself on that ability to be independent and responsible. But for the last 10 years, everything looked good on paper, and I had this successful corporate design job that people, would love to have. I was treated really well. I had, the ideal relationship, a great apartment, and I was living in such a controlled state. But I was also stifling a creative part of me that kept me unique. I was keeping my guards up, and I was not allowing myself to be vulnerable. And it's that vulnerability that ultimately makes me unique. It makes me who I am, and it makes me special. It makes this whole experience so much more alive and real.
So part of, this work and this conversation on this show is about masks that we wear. Was there a particular mask that you felt you were wearing, or sometimes more than one? I've worn many during my life. So was there one in particular, or more than one, that you felt you needed to let go of?
Yeah, it was definitely that idea of being in control of everything and making sure that I had this painted this picture of the ideal life. It wasn't ideal, and I kind of had to let go of that, and sometimes you have to fall in order to get back up, and that's okay. You have to make mistakes, and you have to learn from those experiences. And I think that was a huge lesson for me in letting go. And trust me, I'm still letting go. But the biggest step was walking away from that life last year, and being vulnerable and being open to, so much more that's out there. So it's been pretty great.
And how did you make that decision? Was it an easy one to make? Did you get to a certain point where you're just like, okay, I have to do this? Or
well, I don't think it was easy. There definitely was a point. I think at the time, my anxiety was just getting really, really bad, and I knew that I needed to make changes in my life, and so I needed to figure out how I was gonna start making those changes. I went on a retreat with Dr. Stefan Rekshevin from the Omega Institute, and it was one of his workshops talking on time shifting and creating more time to enjoy my life. And that's when the light bulb really shifted for me. I was dedicating all this time to a career that was not in line with my heart, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what is my purpose here? I'm just wasting it, and that's when I started to make more of an effort. So I kind of began this journey, reshaping my life in a way that I can be more in tune to each moment and to work with my heart, one that was more true to my nature and my soul. Yeah, and I think what ultimately transformed me and my career into where I'm at now is that I kind of went back to my foundational roots, the ones that my parents had planted for me when I was a child. So I began leading a more holistic lifestyle. I started to integrate an Ayurvedic practice into my routine, including everything from self-abhyanga, seasonal eating, detoxing, getting more sleep, doing yoga regularly, meditating regularly, and getting back into my spirituality. And ultimately, that's when things really started to shift for me, and the fog had begun to lift, and I was able to actually ask myself, what is it that you love to do in life? What do you need to be spending your time doing?
Yeah, and I want to go down that path in a moment, but I think this is something very common for many of us. I certainly was sitting in a corporate setting where I knew that there was more for me. So how was anxiety? And I also remember having a lot of anxiety, and even fainting spells. My body was starting to give up. So how did anxiety show up for you? Because I know that a lot of people experience this, and it would be good to kind of explain what you were going through, so people kind of know some of the symptoms that the body begins to share with you.
Yeah, I think I'd never really, or from what I experienced, it was never these it was panic. It was never, I wasn't always in an anxious state. It was out of nowhere. I would just have these debilitating experiences where I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was seeing things tunnel vision. A lot of it happened in transit. So while I was on the train or in crowded spaces, I would just freeze. Yeah, it was pretty awful. And I think ultimately through a lot of self work and therapy and help, I've come to realize that for a long time I was just suppressing a lot, and I was moving, trying to keep up with the pace of life and all the demands that it can put on you without really identifying my own needs, and what life really meant to me. And I think that was where I was like getting stuck in this state of panic, like we, you know. So
So how did you discover your purpose work?
So I think it's been funny. It's kind of been unfolding naturally as I've been embarking on this process. You know, they say, you just have to put one foot in front of the other, and it just doors start opening. And I started implementing my own Ayurvedic practice, and once I started doing that and taking it more seriously, I started asking myself these questions like, what is it that you want to do every day for the rest of your life? What do you love most? And naturally, people had always come to me and sought me out for help with concerns of health and wellness. And I was always like the go-to advocate at the office. And there's something very natural to me. I never thought that, oh, wait, you could actually be doing this and making a living for it. And so that's kind of when I started, like I love to cook. I love helping people. I love just giving people support when they needed it. And with that, around the same time, a lot of friends and family members started creating families and having babies. And I noticed that there was a huge deficiency in the fourth trimester and postpartum support for new moms and new families. And I thought, what better way to take this knowledge and help out, women in this transitional time for them and their families. So that's kind of where the postpartum work and doula work came in.
That's wonderful. So you recently just got back from India, you told me, and you did quite a bit of you did some training over there. Can you tell us about your trip and what it was like for you? And it must have been amazing to be doing something, right, that really feels close to your heart, that really feels in alignment with what you're here to do.
Yeah. So I just recently got back. I was in India for a little over like 4 months or so, and I was basically there to pay homage to the birthplace of Ayurveda, and also to just go into a journey to dive deeper into my own practice. While I was there, I also completed an internship at a natural birth center, and I was providing doula support under the guidance of some of the country's leading midwives. It was on all levels a pretty mind-blowing experience. The birthing clinic was such a great lesson in this collective support that I think is a deficiency in our world right now. I think there's little pockets of it opening up, and in movements, but the support that was provided at this clinic, from fertility to prenatal to labor support to postpartum support, all under one house, promoting this mother baby family friendly environment. It was just mind blowing. And I think my takeaway too from that was, trying to figure out how to promote networks of people healing and helping and supporting throughout the world, and shining some more light on that.
That's beautiful. Anything you didn't expect while you were on the trip?
Anything I didn't expect? It was hard. It wasn't like this like big like spiritual revelation. You think you're just gonna go to India and become enlightened. It wasn't like that at all. It was very raw, and it was definitely a test on your nerves and patience. But I think in that regard, it was a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
I did a lot of meditation when I was there. It was pretty wild. And I met a lot of amazing people. And I think that was the best part of the trip, where some of the richest connections that I've ever made was that when I was there, not just with local Indians, but also with other people on their own journeys. Yeah, I've met so many great people that will be friends for the rest of my life. So it was really great.
That's beautiful. So I don't know much about the doula services here in the States, but is there a difference in how you can practice that type of work?
Of course, yeah. So here, I mean, in India, the word doula is, it doesn't really exist because that practice is integrated into their culture.
Mm.
Postpartum care is something that's supported through family help. They have something which is a 40 days containment period where the woman stays at home and she's got all of the women in her life there taking care of her, giving her daily massage, cooking healthy Ayurvedic style meals. Something that we don't have here. I think it was part of our culture, but somewhere along the line, we kind of modernized and became really highly competitive, and we kind of forgot that we need to give ourselves a break during.
Yeah.
And so definitely trying to go back to some of those traditional practices and implement them back into the work that I'm doing here. I think it's really essential. Like I said, building a healthy foundation is crucial, and I think people really are desiring that these days. We're all a little fried and
Yeah.
so nurturing.
So what excites you most about doing the work that you're now stepping into much more deeply?
Oh, I there's so much. The fact that it's creating a ripple effect, just to be able to shine a little light on one experience can then, shine light on the bigger picture, and hopefully they can pass that on as well. Just setting that example, I think, is really important. And I mean, in my own ways, I was able to do that in my last job, but I think there's something that I'm so much more connected to in this work. It's just more in line with my true nature that makes it that more special.
And is there a place for people to start if they're trying to, change their life? I mean, you jumped into your purpose work, which we all know isn't easy. I know it wasn't easy for me either. There's that part that wants to control and resisting and no, and then you're like pushed and something happens and you're like, okay, and then, it's kind of like that back and forth. And I've experienced that myself on my own journey. So with the work you're doing now, which feels like it's your passion, it's what you're here to do. How do people get started becoming, more holistic and healthier in their lives? Because I know this isn't just for, a woman who's pregnant, but for families to really begin to embrace more of that way of being in their lives.
So I think number one is like, don't think you could do everything yourself. I think it's important to reach out and ask for help. There's so many demands on us now in this modern life that we live society, and there are a lot of people out there to help, and I think it's important to ask for it. But it also takes the work, so you have to be disciplined enough and like really follow through. But ultimately it's worth all the work. But yeah, definitely staying connected and not being afraid to ask for help, and looking at all of your local resources, and through podcasts like yours. There's so many resources out there, so I think it's really important to just ask for help when you need it.
And are there, getting more into you said you love to cook and into the Ayurvedic side, are there any specific foods or things that you would recommend people start incorporating into their health and well-being and how they're eating?
Yeah, totally. I think, a lot of people, they ask me, oh, I think I have this imbalance. Does that mean I don't eat spicy food? And a lot of the times it's not necessarily about what you're eating. It's how you're eating it. In what environment are you eating it? A lot of people today are eating on the go, or, having a snack bar, running to the train station, a lot of the times we're not digesting our food properly when we're eating like that. So that would be number one. Ask yourself, in your daily routine, when you sit down for a meal, are you actually sitting down with that meal? Are you, enjoying the meal? Or are you just stuffing your face and not even recognizing what's going into your body?
Yeah.
Another thing is, knowing where your food comes from, like eating within your environment, seasonally fresh, making sure that you're eating things that haven't taken days to get to you, is really important. One of my favorite Ayurvedic herbs, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows about now, is turmeric. Turmeric is great. It's I don't even really use pepper as much anymore. You can use a little bit of pepper to help activate the turmeric, but turmeric is my go-to. It helps with inflammation, promotes all types of wellness. In India, women rub turmeric and sesame oil all over their body to help with, maintaining inflammation. And turmeric is great for many different reasons. And then also ghee. Ghee is clarified butter. It definitely helps for this similar reasons as turmeric. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's a healthy fat. A lot of people think, butter, there's lots of cholesterol in it, but it actually does help support your organ function, providing proper moisture in your body so that your maintain intestinal health and optimal digestion.
Great. And do you have any favorite places in New York where you actually buy your fresh your seasonal food and fresh food for our New York City viewers? Any places that you recommend?
There are a couple of places, but I would, first off, any local farmers market is the go-to. You're going to get your freshest produce, and you're going to get the freshest produce in your natural habitat, in your environment, and that in Ayurvedic is the best. As far as herbs go, there are a couple places. There's one downtown on the Lower East Side, and it's called the Dual Specialty Store, and they have a series of different organic, all natural herbs, different legumes, mung dal, split mung dal, for those of you who are interested in making khichdi blends. And they also have spice blends as well. So, and a lot of different types of rice. That I believe is between 5th and 6th Street on Avenue A, Dual Specialty Store.
Wonderful. And so tell us more about what you're planning to launch now. And as you're getting more deeply, you just got back, and I think you said you had just moved as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I got back a couple of weeks ago, and within like the first week, I moved out of storage back in the apartment. It's been quite a whirlwind, and stepping outside of New York for as long as it was, and the energy in India is pretty intense, but coming back here, I just forget the pace of the city and the energy. So my head's been spinning a little, but I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more settled. But as far as the work that I'm going to be doing now, really just reaching out to local birthing centers and clinics, trying to work with parents at providing anything from postpartum support, doula services, Ayurvedic meal planning, holistic nutrition education, coaching, and meditation. I think that a lot of people know about these things. Like I said, it's out there now, but to really just help, be that resource for them, to provide them the right, tools to integrate it into their daily routine.
Wonderful. So if people wanted to get a hold of you, do you want them just to go to your website, or where would you want them to?
Yeah, for now, you could just check out my website. It's maryawhitlock.com, and that's my name. You can just fill out a form and send me your information, and I'll get back to you for whatever questions you have. And If you want a consultation, I offer holistic consultations focusing on Ayurveda and your constitution, as well as meal planning. And for postpartum services, I offer bundles. So it's a 16-hour minimum, and services include postpartum support from lactation consulting, meal planning, help with newborn care, and basic education and resources for new moms.
That's wonderful. So any last tips or any message for our audience before we close up the show?
Yeah, I think there is an idea about this, thinking about the bigger, more collective soul. I think it's the idea that we're all working together and helping each other succeed. And I think that's something to look forward to in the future. Like I said, I think it's starting to happen, but, I think it's really important. And hopefully that some of the work I can do can help work towards that. So
I love that. Yes, that's so important for us to really support one another, lift one another. I like to say love one another back into being. So thank you for all the amazing work you are doing and for being on the show today. And I just want to remind everybody that you are loved and you are loved. And I'll be back here next Monday. Take care, Mary. It's so wonderful to have you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.